Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, I have a new deck that we're going to be exploring together for the next month. And then I'll do a deck dive into this deck to give a more comprehensive review. But for the next 4 weeks, we're going to play around with this deck together. Yeah? And the name of the deck is called the Light and Shadow Tarot. And it's a very interesting deck. It's by Michael Goffard and Brian Williams. And, well, I'll show it to you in just a minute. But for this video and for this deck, I've decided to come up with my own spread. I've allowed, or I've asked, I should say, the deck to tell me what kind of spread it wanted. Yeah? So I've got this whole little new spread worked out for this deck with this deck. And we're going to explore that together as we take our first look at using this deck. And before we do that, let me say thank you. Thank you for doing all those things that you do. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button. Thank you for subscribing. You and everyone with you who have done all of those things have allowed this channel to grow. You have helped other people find us by taking those actions. So thank you. And thank you for those of you who comment in the comment section wherever you find your comment section in your device. So thank you for doing all of those things. And friends, what I'm going to do now, first I will show you the basic layout of the spread. And it is a somewhat positional spread. I'll tell you what I mean when I say that in just a moment. And then I will show you the actual spread for this week. And then we'll briefly take a look at what the deck is and then start reading the spread. Are you all ready, friends? Well, this is this week's, or maybe even this month's spread and deck. Here we go. Friends, do you know this deck? Do you have this deck? Again, it is the Light and Shadow Tarot, and it is a block print deck. And while it's not the same at all, I still get... Do you know the deck Oculi Occultati? It's way out of print. It's a black and white and one color deck, which means for all of the suits, for example, all of the swords, all of the pentacles, all the wands, all of the cups, the main image is black and white with a little sprinkling of one color, like there's a little bit of light blue on all of the cups. Yeah, all of the swords I think are a pink. Yeah, all the pentacles are is it green or yellow? Anyways, but you get the idea. There's a light wash of, or light addition of color. Now this does not have the color, but the size of the deck, the kind of bold line work in this deck reminds me a lot of that deck. And frankly, if I decide I want to continue using this deck after this month, I will probably trim it down because you saw that there's a lot of white space, a lot of border. And because these cards are unconscionably wide, if you ask me, I think trimming off the side borders would be very beneficial to using the deck. And we'll talk about cardstock and all that when I do the deck dive later on, about a month from now. So, this deck, the Light and Shadow Tarot. Now, the spread you just saw. I call that, I think you probably saw the name on the image of the basic spread layout that I showed you, right? I called it my Hermit spread. I called it my Hermit spread because when I asked the deck what kind of spread it wanted me to use, we both chose the hermit card. And so you saw we had, it's positional in a way. Yeah? From left to right, you saw there were 3 cards, and I laid them out 1, 2, and then 3, the one in the center. And those 3 were for the body, mind, and heart. Yeah? And that is the form of the hermit. Where the hermit's body is, where the hermit's mind is, and where the hermit's heart is. That makes sense, yes? Then the next 2 cards, they showed what the light is showing. Yeah, all of the hermits, they carry, almost all hermits, I shouldn't say that, right? But you know, the standard hermit that we get from Terre de Marseille, the Smith-Waite deck, even the Thoth deck, they usually have a lantern, right? And so that's the light. So the next 2 cards are what the light shows. Yeah? And if there's light, there's also the reason why the hermit has a candle is because they are in darkness. Whether it's a male hermit or a female hermit or a non-binary hermit or whatever. Yeah? They're in the dark. So the next 2 cards were for what the darkness reveals. And then the next 2 cards, all the way on the right, those are for the divine, what the divine wants to tell us. And if you know me, you know that every week I ask the same question. How can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? So we'll start off with the body, mind, spirit. I'm sorry, not body, mind, spirit. Body, mind, heart of the hermit. Then what the light we are carrying is revealing to us. And then what the shadows outside of that light are concealing. And then what does the divine want to tell us? And that divine could be anything, whatever you want to name the divine. Yeah, it could be God, it could be Allah, it could be Buddha, it could be Brahman, it could be the Great Spirit, it could be your higher self, it could be your guardian angel, it could be the universe, it could be source, anything you want to call it, Gaia, the Mother Earth, your choice. Yeah, what the divine wants to tell us. Yes? And really, I'm not saying that I think naming the divine is meaningless or silly or frivolous. I'm just saying that we all have our own way of naming the divine. And I don't think it's helpful if we get into a fight over which name is right. Okay? So, we do we boo. Yeah? You do you boo, I do me boo, we do we boo. And here we go. Let's start off with the spread. Yeah, let's start right in with the spread. These cards are just, they're huge, but they're bold, they're strong, they're active. Even the quietest of these cards, I think, in this deck, has a bold vibrance to it. Yeah? So I'm really intrigued by this deck, and I'm curious to see how well it reads for us. So the first card we get is going to be the body card. We'll start off with the body, number 1, which was the 3 of Wands. Yeah? And I'll have a picture of it right up here for you to look at. And I'll look at my card here. Just in case you're curious, this is what the backs look like. That should be easy to trim if I want to. Yes? And holding this card up to the light, I can see that the black border on the back of the card matches up almost precisely with the black border on the face of the card. So trimming should be easy. Yeah? Okay, so 3 of Wands. Very standard Smith-Waite kind of image, although we see instead of the male-looking figure standing on a hill, this male-looking figure is using the wands, the 3 wands, as a kind of, as stilts, with an extra wand in the middle, right? He's standing on or in the wands. There are footholes in one, and it looks like there are footholes in these wands for his feet to go through. Interesting, yeah. We can still see the ship in the ocean there. Is it coming? Is it going? It's our choice. But you can also see that above the ship there is a black sun, and in the sun there is that circular symbol for the sun. And below, if you follow the line of the sun to the ship and keep going down, there's a pyramidal or somehow triangular shape down at the bottom with the sign of Aries, right? Because this card is the Three of Wands, and this deck has the Chaldean associations for the minor arcana on all of the cards, which I appreciate. I would have preferred the system of traditional decans of triplicities, but, you know, I'm going to read the cards as they are. Yeah, so I'm going to read this as the Sun in Aries, which actually works fine for me. I would have put the Sun in Aries in the Two of Wands personally, but it fits with my system very nicely. And it's interesting, the Chaldean system and my system, the one I learned from the Continental Tarot, sometimes align up more often than not in interesting ways. Yeah? So we got the Sun in Aries. What does that tell us? We have the fixed aspect of cardinal fires, vital attributes entering our reading, our world, our natal charts right now. Yeah? And what is that? I'm sorry. Friends, I'm sorry. When I was setting things up, I set things up a little bit poorly, and I realized that cables were interfering with what I have to touch. So I got it all reorganized. So what are we doing? We're looking at this Three of Wands, right? And the Three of Wands, because it is the Sun in Aries, has the complement of Mars in Taurus, which is interesting. Yeah, Mars in Taurus is in the domicile of his partner Venus. So Mars would be a little bit uncomfortable there, but he can probably figure things out, given time and presence. And this Three of Wands, because we do have the Sun in Aries, it points to somebody who can finish what they've begun, someone who is intense, has intensity, and still that leonine, noble affection about themselves. Yeah, they're intense, but they also have that regal, I want to be friends with you kind of attitude around other people at the same time. They're organizers, and they are very talented leaders. They're strong, they have strong willpower, and they are very self-centered, right? That's one of their bad qualities. Maybe a little bit authoritative, maybe a little egotistical. They desire recognition, prestige. They want to look good. And that is a quality about the person, maybe, in this situation as us, who are trying to begin the new task, right? The Three of Wands is generally thought of as the one who has made the plan and now is taking steps to fulfill that plan. Has taken the steps to start following their, not their intuition, but their inspiration, right? So there's the idea of progress in the physical realm, because this is the card for the body, of going on an adventure, a very Aries-like thing to do. action from intention and action from inspiration are part of this. It's doing the stuff that we have worked out for ourselves or felt drawn to do. There's foresight that's part of it. See the guy looking out over the ocean. It requires a little bit of work on our part, but there's some productivity implied in this card. So we've got that productivity, that starting to do the things that we've wanted to do with a little bit of intensity, with a little bit of organization, but also with leadership and with affectionate nobility. What does that mean to you? Affectionate nobility. Now, you have your own sense of self, but you're not unapproachable, you're warm, you want to foster and care for those around you, right? So that's where we begin this week's answer to the question, how can we live our lives more intentionally? And then we look at what's on our minds. And what's on our minds is also another wand, right? It's the Ace of Wands. And here we've got this beautiful Ace of Wands. And this Ace of Wands makes me think of two things. It makes me think of trees in Hawaii. And you see the mountains, well, perhaps volcanoes in the background for this card, right? And the flowers on the trees make me think of some flowers I've seen in Hawaii. But it also reminds me a little bit of, or it has the flavor of the Ace of Wands from the Thoth deck. And there are several things in this deck that just remind me, it's not a Thoth deck. Yeah, it doesn't have everything it would need to have to be a Thoth deck, in my humble opinion. However, there are some things that just release the scent of the Harris Crowley Thoth. And this image here, while it doesn't have the whole tree of life mapped out on the flames shooting off of the Ace of Wands as their card does, this card still gives me that feeling. Yeah? What is the Ace of Wands? The Ace of Wands is inspiration, right? It's new opportunities, growth, potential. There's some virtue here. Maybe the virtue of leadership, or the virtue that is called for in leadership. It's the root of the power of fire. So interestingly, if you look at the guidebook for this card, whereas the Thoth deck, I think, and the Smith-Waite deck point to the aces as seeds, as beginnings, the author of this deck seems to be pointing more towards a fulfillment or having everything there. Yeah? The author says powerful and vital fire. Okay. Both destructive and creative. Warming and burning. Yeah? Revealing light and blinding glare. Which all makes it sound very large instead of just the seed of something. Something that is the root that still needs to sprout and flourish and grow with some perhaps nurturing. But still, we're looking what is on our minds, or what would be beneficial for us to have on our minds is our inspiration, right? But remembering that that inspiration has both a nurturing and potentially dangerous aspect to it. So we want to avoid the dangers of the blinding light or the burning fire, but take advantage of the warmth and the light that it reveals and the power that vitalizes. That's where we want to keep our minds in this coming week. Yes? And then here we have in the center, where is our heart? And what's in the heart? in this spread? We've got a cup card, which makes absolute sense. Yes? The King of Cups. This King of Cups. Let me just tell you that in the Thoth deck and in this deck, that all have a lot of very strong astrology attached to them. I really wish that for the court cards, now this is my own personal beef, that I know other people will want to come at me for, but still, my own personal beef is I wish they would have picked a lane for these court cards. And yes, I know. The concept is that, for example, the King of Cups card covers 30% one sign covers 60% one sign and 30% of another. It straddles signs, and I don't like that. I want us to, okay, let's just pick one. Yeah? That's my thing. And I wish this deck had picked, but okay, the Thoth deck shows aspects of both. I think this deck does not show aspects of both, in my opinion. So for me, because there is no indication on this card, yeah, there is what looks like a crab, but for me, looking at the book, none of the descriptions point to one of the three water signs, right? None of them point directly towards Cancer, towards Scorpio, or towards Pisces. So for me, this card is going to be it's going to be Pisces. Maybe. We'll see. Okay, so for this card, what do we have? An emotionally balanced person, right? Compassionate, optimistic, caring. Someone with emotional maturity. Someone who is a little sophisticated, perhaps, or cultured, who is on top of those watery arts of music and maybe dance. Yeah? Someone who might be fluent linguistically or culturally. With literature, perhaps even. Someone who is an insightful advisor as well. Someone who can give good, compassionate, sympathetic, and empathetic advice or help to other people. And the King of Cups for me is fire of water. So there's that passion of fire along with the water of the cups. So we've got the passion of the wands all through this line, right? The Ace of Wands, the King of Cups being fire of water for me and many people, it's not just me, and the Three of Wands. So there's a lot of fire, but here in the heart we've also got the water of compassion, of emotional balance, of art and culture and interpersonal connection. That's a pretty high bar to reach for a 1 week, how can we live our lives more intentionally kind of question. But that's the direction we want our hearts to be flowing in, right? And if we can flow in that direction, we open ourselves more to the power of intention, which will carry us forward. Does that make sense? And so remember, this is the Hermit spread, and the Hermit is holding the candle. And so what does that candle reveal? We have two cards, the Five of Wands and the Devil, right? What's that about? So this combination of cards, now remember, these both are answering the same question. So they're not individually responding to separate prompts. They're both responding to one prompt of what does the light reveal. And we're going to start with the card on top, which was the Five of Wands. And here you see not five, but three people. Now, Pixie's deck, Pamela Coleman Waite's art shows 5 people with wands all competing or fighting for something, right? Here we have a very interesting image of 3 people. One person seems to be holding 2 wands up, which makes me think of more like a goalpost. Yeah? We've got one person holding 1 wand, kind of like a javelin, like maybe he is preparing to throw that javelin through those 2 wands being held by the person in the farthest background. And then we've got somebody in the foreground holding 2 other wands, totaling 5, but not seeming to be doing much more than holding them. Like maybe that person is holding them for the athlete who is going to take several attempts at throwing spears through goalposts. Do you see that? So it doesn't lend much towards that conflict, but more, for me, points artistically more towards the idea of competition and maybe athletics. And at the very top, you see the 2 signs for Saturn and Leo. So we've got Saturn in Leo, which doesn't really line up with my system of associations for astrology and tarot. However, what does this tell us? Well, someone who has Saturn in Leo struggles with self-doubt. Yeah, they're afraid of judgment. They're afraid of what people are thinking about them, that they're going to be poorly evaluated by others. And so they feel like they have to work harder for recognition. They're taking on the challenge of leadership roles, yes, but they feel like they have to work harder than other people. Have you ever felt like that? That like you've had to work harder than other people to get where you've gotten, and that maybe other people are criticizing you and finding you coming up short for what you're trying to do? Have you ever felt that? Well, this card, Saturn in Leo, points towards that. And so maybe our reaction is to compete more. Yeah? So this card requires a balance between a desire for the spotlight, the leonine thing, hey, look at me, and the responsibility of leadership of Saturn. Yeah? And so we've got the ideas of, in the Smith-Waite system, of conflict, rivalry, and contention, but we've also got competition, right? I'll try my best, you'll try my best, let's see who gets farther. It could be competition with self, yeah? I will do my best this time, and let's see if I get this javelin to go farther than I did yesterday. Yeah, competition with self could fall into this category, so that we feel like we have accomplished something and we can shine a little bit more in the eyes of others. Yes? Now, if we take the 5 of Wands the way that I usually look at the 5 of Wands, yeah, we've got a complement of okay, let's pass that on. I don't think that's going to be helpful for us. Okay, let's move on. So, right beneath this, the light is shining on our need to feel like we are worthy, like we are, that other people will approve of what we are doing, right? That we want to be leaders, but we also have this responsibility issue that might be a little uncomfortable for us. Does that make sense? And so maybe we're overcompensating by competing with others, maybe. And right beneath that we have this devil card, right? The devil, what is that? The devil Now, this devil does not have an astrological symbol or a Hebrew letter or anything that would be on say, a Harris Crowley deck card. Yes? So I get to do with it, and it's not in the guidebook either, so I get to do with this as I will. And as I will is to associate the devil with Sagittarius, not Capricorn, with Sagittarius. Why? Because the Hebrew letter I would associate with the devil is Samek, which looks like a circle, maybe a little bit like an Ouroboros. And the reason that I would associate the devil with Samek is I would associate Aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, not with the fool, but with the magician, which is number 1, and Aleph, which is number 1. And the 15th letter, 15, the devil, is Samek. And what is Samek? Samek is the Hebrew letter for supports or a prop, like the propping up of a tent. Yeah, it's also something to lean upon or something to uphold or support other things. And if we take a look at the rune that would be associated with that from the Elder Futhark, yeah, the rune would be Algiz, which kind of looks like somebody holding the YMCA pose. Yeah, you see the head in the middle and the two arms raised up. It's like a Y with a line up the center. Yeah, and that rune is associated with the horned deity. Interesting association with this devil card, right? But the horned deity in olden times was not the devil, but was a protection deity. Yeah? A deity of openness and happiness and life force. That vital energy. Right beneath that 5 of Wands card could be very supportive. So there is energy that could support our competition or our desire to be greater. But we also have the ideas of the devil being the shadow self, right? Maybe attachments, maybe addictions. Maybe we're addicted to competition after having done it so much. Maybe we're feeling a little bit of bondage. Now, Sagittarius, Jupiter and Sagittarius is the domicile of Jupiter, right? Is the one who wants to go out and lead the pack, right? And is more playful. It's experimental. It's come follow me, but even if you don't follow me, I'm just going to keep on going. I'm ready for the next thing. And yet with the devil, there's some restriction to that. It's hard to get ahead, which we could see with that I want to get ahead, but then with that 5 of Wands, but what will people think of me? Will they judge me for what I'm trying to, what I want to do? I feel the responsibility of leading others, and yet I want to be in the spotlight, but it's not comfortable because what are they going to think? Have you ever felt that before? Maybe you don't allow yourself to feel that because you're afraid that people are going to judge you, so you don't take that step forward. There's also a sexuality to the devil card, right? But the author of this deck points to primal forces, animal nature, which I think if we take that with that primal force, that animal nature wanting to go forward, to explore, and yet having that being not our conscious minds and rational minds of connection with the light so much, but the more libidinous, the more predatory, the more instinctive drive to survive. Drive to survive might be showing right now as that competition. That competition might be springing out of this devil card, which has support there, the support of nature. We have the support of Jupiter. We have the openness and happiness of Argis there, but within that there's this animal drive to do something, to find food, to get out there and conquer or succeed. Yes? So maybe all of that energy is feeding into this complicated Five of Wands aspect that is being revealed by the light for us. Right? The light is showing that there's some tension here. There's some discomfort and there's some thing that we would benefit from working out. That conflict of wanting to go forward, but what are people going to think? But that drive to move forward, but I want to be happy, I want to be joyful, I want to be free, I want to be Jupiterian. And yet those things are here in the shadows of the unconscious maybe, or the animal instinct. Yeah? And so we move into what is in the shadows? What is out there? And interestingly, what's out there, we got some pretty happy looking cards, right? We got the Seven of Pentacles and the Sun of all things. So let's start with the Seven of Pentacles, right? This is what's in the shadows. Lovely card. Very Smith-Waite-like, right? We've got the guy with the staff. Maybe it looks like a shovel, but not really a shovel, because it looks like the stick he's leaning on is actually in a vessel rather than being the handle of some kind of an implement, right? But he's leaning on top of that stick, just like the guy in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck leaning on that hoe, right? Yeah, hoe. And we have the 7 pods there on the plants. Beautiful card. They look kind of like coconuts, maybe. I'm not sure. Beautiful card. And the Seven of Pentacles in this deck, you can see we've got Saturn above and we've got Taurus below. Now you see those 2 glyphs? 2 symbols? So that means what? We have the cardinal aspect of fixed Earth. The cardinal aspect of fixed Earth's vital attributes entering this spread here. So we got fixed Earth with Taurus and Saturn, which is domiciled in Capricorn, and Capricorn being cardinal Earth. So we've got cardinal aspect of fixed Earth entering the spread here. And because this is the 3rd decanate of Taurus, we also have an exaltation. And the exaltation is Venus in Pisces, which echoes, remember, I decided that Pisces was for this card, right? So we've got the echo of Pisces in the exaltation of, did I say Virgo? I meant Venus, of Venus in Pisces with this card here. So what does that mean? If we've got Saturn in Taurus, another Saturn, right? We have the Saturn in, we had Saturn in Leo with the 5 of Wands, and here in the 7 of Pentacles, we've got Saturn in Taurus. And someone who has that combination is ambitious, is organized. They're slightly aggressive, because Saturn, to achieve financial and emotional security as well. Taurans want to feel good in the earth, right? They want to feel good. They enjoy the sensual pleasures, because the natural planet for Taurus is Venus. So there are those Venus-like aspects of Taurus. But still they want to be masters. Yeah? They're stubborn. That stubbornness is a little bit hyped up here with Saturn being there. They have a stubborn dedication, though, to their advancement because of Capricorn. Saturn is domiciled in Capricorn, right? They have difficulty detaching from people. But they're generous. They're generous with their love. They're generous with their money. And their dark side is that when they're being generous, they can also be patronizing. So, because Saturn, yeah? Yes, take all this stuff because clearly you can't do anything for yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah? So, what does that mean for the Seven of Pentacles? Which is traditionally, or we normally think of as taking the long-term view, looking far ahead, right? Getting sustainable results. It's waiting for the harvest. And perseverance. Yeah? These things, they might not be ripe yet, so we're going to have to wait. We have to persevere. We can't just cut them down because we think we should get them now, because this is the time we want them. We persevere until they have grown and ripened and have become full for us to harvest. So there's that aspect of the Seven of Pentacles as well. There are also the ideas of harvest, right? And financial responsibility. So in the shadows, we've got this sense of being able to wait, being able to persevere, because we have our own masterdom there. And we're a little bit stubborn. We're going to wait for the right thing to be ready, right? And we're organized. Part of being patient is also being organized. Being haphazardly patient isn't a thing. Being randomly patient, I don't think, is a thing, right? There's an organization required for patience and for waiting for things to develop. So that's all part of this Seven of Pentacles. And interestingly, that's out there in the shadows, available to us if we are ready to receive it. And that is supported by a very, very, here we go, the Sun card, a very, very wild-looking Sun card to me. Yeah? We don't have any babies on horses. We don't have two people standing in front of a wall, bathing in the sunlight. We've got just this one huge image of the sun, which reminds me a little bit of some South American art. A little bit, but do you see the city beneath the sun? Definitely not South American, right? That looks a little bit Central Asian, maybe, to me. I don't know. But, so maybe this is a Slavic sun. I don't know. But the sun is big, it's bold, it's bright. And the sun, for me, because there is no astrological information on the card, for me, the sun is associated with the Hebrew letter Kof. Kof. And that kind of looks like a P, a lowercase p. It is the Hebrew letter for a monkey who wants to become a human being. Yeah, and the monkey is associated, the Kof is also associated with, guess what? The sun. Now, the Thoth card deck would put Kof on the moon, but this is one of those cards where it just looks like a no-brainer for me that Kof, which is the letter for the sun, should be on the bloody sun card, right? But there's the dark side of the monkey mimicking human behaviors. So there might be a little bit of imposter, not syndrome where you feel like you're an imposter, but being an imposter, you're mimicking the real thing. It might be in the part of the dark side of this card. And because we have the letter mystical tradition of associating the letters of the Hebrew alphabet to astrology, to parts of the body, to all of those things, which was used by the esotericists in the 18th and 19th and 20th centuries to associate the Tarot with astrology and Hebrew letters and all of that. The Sefer Yeserat associates Kaf with Pisces. Pisces. So we've got that expansiveness. It's a watery thing. So the sun is there with this Piscean expansive water, which is the domicile of Jupiter again. We've got Jupiter here again in this card, just like we had Jupiter in the Devil card, which was beneath the Five of Wands, right? We've got another Jupiter aspect entering the shadows, just like we had Jupiter entering the light of the torch, which is expansive, which is beneficent, the great beneficent. It's good fortune, good luck, generosity, wealth. And this card is a card, because we have Kaf, the associated rune would be Iwaz, which is the rune for a horse, which if this were a Smith-Waite deck and there's the baby on the horse, that would make total sense to me. It's riding, but it's also progress. It's also loyalty. Horses are loyal to their people once they have been gentled. Yes? There's harmony and cooperation with Iwaz, which reminds us of the twins on the sun cards in the Tarot de Marseille and the Harris Crowley deck. Yes? And other decks as well. So, cooperation, partnership, maybe a little bit of marriage tossed in for good measure. All in Ehwaz. And so that fragrance wafts over this card as well. So what is the sun for us? It's positivity, it's fun, it's warmth, it's success, it's vitality. Now the vitalizing energy of the sun brings life forth from this planet, right? It's attainment, it's majesty, it's celebrity, it's eminence, all of those light, bright, sunny aspects of life support our Seven of Pentacles, mastery, patience, waiting for the right time, waiting for things to be able to be harvested, right? Our organization, all of that is supported by this powerful sun energy from beneath, out there in the shadows. So what does that mean? Does that mean that the shadows dampen it? No. I think it means that there is this vital force out there that is possible for us that we're not quite aware of. So we might want to shift our light away from the competition or solve the problems that are indicated by the competition and the Devil card, the Five of Wands and the Devil card, so that we can open ourselves farther to receive this vital energy of the Sun card supporting Saturn and Taurus, supporting our ambition and organization and mastery and our dedication to advancement, even if we are a little bit stubborn about it. As we're patient and we wait and we wait and we wait till the right time. Saturn is also the timing card, the timing planet, right? Saturn, Kronos, god of time with the scythe, yes? So, friends, we move into what is the divine trying to tell us. And remember, we've had a couple of major arcana cards in this spread, right? We had the devil made me do it. We had the sun, here comes the sun from the shadows. And then the divine message gives us two more major arcana cards, the Wheel of Fortune and below it the moon. So we have the sun in the morning and the moon at night. The moon is here in this part of the spread. Also interesting. But let's look at this Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, we've got this very interesting grouping of characters around the wheel, where usually we expect to see the angel, we see the eagle, we see the bull and the lion. So that's the bull is Taurus, the lion is Leo, the angel is Aquarius, and the eagle is Scorpio. Here instead, we've got in the upper right-hand corner, where Aquarius generally is an eagle, which to me would be Scorpio. Then we've got in the upper right-hand corner, what looks like a male figure with a sword, which I think would be Aquarius. But then down below, instead of a bull and a lion, I see a monkey in the lower right-hand corner. And in the lower left-hand corner, frankly, that could be a bull, but I'm not sure. I really am not sure. What do you think that is? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think that creature is in the lower left-hand corner? I'm curious. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I just saw something that I had not seen as I looked at this deck. Okay, so you see the wheel. The wheel, there's a figure holding the wheel. You see the head at the top, the hands at the sides, and the feet below. You see that? The figure has got a black face. What I saw as the guy holding the sword actually is laying on top of the wheel, right? I don't know why I didn't see that before. But yes, the guy holding the sword is laying on top of the wheel, grasping it from above, right? Lying face down on the wheel. That's interesting. So that's not Aquarius, it's a Sphinx? I don't know. This card is a little bit mysterious to me. However, the Wheel of Fortune, for me, again, no astrology here, is associated with Virgo. Why? Because the Wheel of Fortune is associated with me, for me, with Yod. Now, the Hebrew letter Yod, which is the little comma-shaped Hebrew letter. And a lot of people, when we look at things like the Sun card, maybe, or the Tower card, maybe, we see or like the Ace of Wands in the Smith-Waite deck. Yeah, we see those little bits of flame. People call them yods. Yeah, that's the Yod from Hebrew. And Yod is associated with the sign of Virgo, which is the domicile of Mercury. The changeable one, the quick one, the one that is a messenger. It goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, right? Swift, but changeable. Maybe a little bit of a trickster. So, Mercury in Virgo gives Mercury a little bit of stability because Virgo is an earth sign. And a little bit of organization. But still, Mercury's quick. And changeable. So in the Wheel of Fortune, that kind of works out for me. That balance of Mercury being a little bit stabilized, but not entirely. And the Yod is what? It's the hand. It's the hand of God. Right? It's the hand of fate as well. Matches up very well with the Wheel of Fortune. It's the creative hand. And the rune associated would also be Naudis. Naudis, which looks like a line with a diagonal line across the center of it. Yeah, that's the card for desire, for our needs. And the importance of the wheel of changing is that that wheel sometimes meets our needs and sometimes does not, right? Now, this is also the card for invention. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? So invention and innovation. Also of disruption. The wheel disrupts things, right, as it changes. And the desire to overcome. So when we get down to the bottom, we want to overcome it. So all of those aspects really do line up nicely with the Wheel of Fortune for me. And this is the card of good luck. So the divine message for us, the divine advice is to allow the wheel to turn, to allow good luck and karma and the cycles of life to turn so that we can receive the good and let go of what is no longer necessary. Allow the wheel to turn. Does that make sense? And that will bring us better fortune. And supporting that, we have this moon card, right? This moon, which for me is associated with tzadi, which looks like a kind of bent up Y. And therefore, it is associated with the sign of Aquarius, which is the domicile of, guess what? That nasty old planet Saturn, which is the great Maleficent, right? And I'm not talking Maleficent of, of Sleeping Beauty, not that witch or sorceress, I should say. But the great beneficent is Jupiter, the greater maleficent, the bad one, is Saturn. And tzadi is what? Tzadi is a javelin or a fish hook, which aligns nicely a little bit with Samek, with the devil, a little bit. We also have a rune associated, which is Berkana, which kind of looks like a bee, an angular bee. And it's the card for new beginnings, for fertility, regeneration, birth. And if we think of the moon following the star following the tower breaks everything down. The star gives us a little bit of healing. And the moon could be that new birth after the healing, after the disruption. Does that make sense? Before we step into the full light of the sun. So, a lot of us associate the moon with fears, with night, with the unknown, dark, scary things, the monsters that hide in the closets, right? And that's possible. There are illusions with the moon. There is fear. There's anxiety. The moon does represent our subconscious, for me as well. But it also is cycles, right? Pointing towards that wheel of fortune, the cycles of the moon, the cycles of fertility. It's also imagination, which can feed the wheel of fortune. It's also speculation. So we see in this moon card, we've got what? The standard 2 towers. We got the dog and the wolf. You can see the dog is sitting up there in a very dog-like pose, right? And the wolf is standing there on the left-hand side, staring at the dog, thinking, what the heck is your problem, right? Who do you think you are? What are you doing? I'm just reading into this. And then we've got the little crustacean coming up from the bottom. We got the path leading forward through the 2 towers towards the moon. Just like a normal moon card, although it is kind of cute that that moon forms a circle, right? It's not completely open, it is a circle, which reminds us of the Wheel of Fortune right above it. So, what do we have? We've got new beginnings, we've got fertility, we've got regeneration coming up from the unconscious perhaps, from changes, from our imagination. Think of the imaginal cells of a butterfly, which is all dissolved, and it's the imaginal cells there in this muck which coalesce and begin creating the new thing. So, and that's the cycle of the Wheel of Fortune, is being fed by that. So what do we have for this spread? How are we supposed to live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? It seems like this coming week is a week of our passions developing within the context of heart. Yeah, with going out and doing the things, with taking the steps and keeping our minds on that goal that of the Ace of Wands that started us off on this journey. And we want to do that with the heart of the King of Cups, of balance, emotional balance, and compassion, and maturity, and a heart for art. Yes? Recognizing that as we look around us, we might see our tendencies towards competition, and that might be fed from our baser instincts. And we want to recognize that and maybe do something to ameliorate that. Knowing that in the shadows lie some power, some vitality, which can feed those wands. And then we got this beautiful divine message, right? This divine information, divine suggestion is to recognize the changes and cycles of our lives. And to receive that creative potential that is part of that cycle. Yes? We have the creative hand in the Wheel of Fortune that can grip that Ace of Wands that starts us on the journey of the Three of Wands. And that it can be fed by our imagination, following the cycles of the moon. Aquarius. Yeah, Saturn in Aquarius has a progressive, long distance view, which can help us. Where Mercury in Virgo has the organizational skills that can also support us in the changing cycles of the Wheel of Fortune and the moon. And we also have some support from Jupiter, right? We have some support from Jupiter as the aspect of Sagittarius in the Devil. And we have the support of Jupiter in Pisces for the Sun. We have some beneficent aspects coming to support that somewhat often harsh-seeming Saturn, which seems to be sprinkled throughout this spread. So we have some potential help here too, right? Does that make sense? Does the way I'm using this deck make sense to you? If it does let me know in the comments below. If not, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And friends, in just a moment, the QR code for my online tarot shop will appear for you. Take advantage of that. It's the giving season. You can buy a reading for somebody else as a gift. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.